Welcome.
Welcome back.
We're hoping you have a wonderful Friday already today. We know we are. And we're here for a special edition. We're out here on location. Not in our usual spot on the red couch, but
On the black bench.
on the black bench now in the gym for you guys.
So we didn't really bother moving the red couch in the gym. So
We wanted to. We thought it would be really funny, but in theory, it's better than actually doing it.
here we go. All right, so today we wanted to do a bit more practical stuff for our live. Wanted to talk about 3 tips that will help you guys get the most out of your training
Yeah,
in
better
the gym.
results.
Better results in the gym. Very important because no one wants to be going to the gym and waste their time, right? And we see this a lot, unfortunately, with a lot of people that come to us. They've been working out. A lot of people come to us that have already been training and they just are missing some very basic elements, or not doing the right type of exercise, or they're not working properly, or they're, lacking technique or things like that. So
Little simple basic form issues that should be addressed, but that aren't huge, but they produce a world of results if you follow them.
exactly. So today is 3 of them, right? Because obviously there's like a whole lot of things that you can do in the gym. There's tons of ways to train. There's different ways.
5 million in one, to be precise.
And what we teach is the way we teach it. We're going to be talking about this today because we work mostly with people that are trying to transform their bodies, body composition, build more toned bodies, increase muscle mass, and things like that. So
Basically, if you want to look good naked, you're going to want to follow this advice.
there we go. So today we're going to give you guys more of like general tips, like very basic general tips that we see a lot. They're very easy to fix, and even you at home, if you're not working with us, you can start implementing those tips today in the gym.
Why is it important?
Why is it important?
Yeah.
So you're not
why?
wasting your time.
But also,
Yeah.
a lot of people, they create a lot of bad habits,
Mm.
motor patterns. Your body's learning these, and then over time, they're going to become your norm, which will create more dysfunction and lead to either injuries, nagging injuries, aches and pains, and posture issues. And then also, you're not getting the results you want. Your body's not changing the way you thought it would by working out because these little things that add up.
Well, you get really good at what you do consistently, right? So that's what we're going to be talking about. So how to make these little things, these little reps and sets and forms better, so then you get really good at doing things better and therefore improve your body comp, the way your body looks, your posture, and overall fitness, okay? So let's start with some very basic thing. Number one, we're going to talk about your posture awareness. That's a big topic. There's a lot of different layers to this, but today we just want to talk about the awareness part of it, because a lot of people move through space and are not just even aware of how they stand and how they position themselves. So do you want to touch on that? You want to start? Or
Yeah, let me demonstrate with the...
yeah, so what we could do is we're going to demonstrate. You want to do a tricep extension? Or
Yeah.
okay, so let's do a tricep push down. So you guys can see, perhaps like maybe Greg can demonstrate a not so good way to do it and first. You want it?
I'll see the best way.
Yeah. All right. There.
What should...
It's fine. Just so common mistakes we see a lot with triceps push down. Well, there's a lot of mistakes happening. At the same
I'm
time.
trying to think of things that people do.
Well, the idea that we're trying to do a correct. You can't mess it up. Can't even mess it up. Okay, so let's just do an actual nice tricep push down like we do.
Right.
Again, guys, this is not like what we're teaching is not the only one way to do things. There's so many ways to do everything. It's more about creating awareness around where your body is positioned. Right now, we're not going to really focus too much on what's happening at the arms because he's doing a tricep push down. Go ahead. But really what we want to be focusing on is what's happening outside of the working muscles, right? Because a lot of times people are focusing on, okay, I'm I'm contracting my triceps, I'm working on my arms, but they're not aware of how they're positioning their shoulders, their shoulder blades, their scapulas here in the back. They don't pay attention to their posture, what happens here at the hips, your legs, where your head is, where you're looking. So there's so many components to, posture is kind of a big, broad term, but the idea is, you can stop. The idea is to kind of isolate. Right now we're working on isolating and maintaining a good contraction and the posture and good alignment while we're executing the exercise.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk a bit more about that?
Yeah, well, one reason why posture is so important is because if you're not aware of how your body is positioned, then you're not going to be able to contract and provide tension in the muscle, which is crucial for changing it and developing it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, with that being said, when we talk about posture, because a lot of people will think posture is just like standing up straight, right? So let's not, because this has been demystified like a lot, like for quite a while now.
About 100 years.
It's not just about like training with your back straight all the time, because despite what you might have heard in the past, because it used to be what people thought was true, you can, there's a lot of times where you're going to have to rotate your spine, and we want you to move in a tri-dimensional way, right? Especially in your training. That's just another layer of stuff we're going to talk later on. And then there's going to be times and places where you need to round your spine, and you need to arch your spine and move through space again in all the ways that your spine can possibly do. Like, because now we're talking about posture, which is mainly related to your torso, right?
Yeah.
But the idea here is that because now we're trying to develop the arms. Let's say we're focusing on the triceps. We want to put as much attention around the triceps to develop this area. If your whole body is working while you're trying to focus on triceps, you're not putting as much emphasis on the actual working muscles, right? So that's one of the common mistakes that we see. The other problem with this is you can potentially injure yourself if everything is moving and not isolated. And then you're also creating or causing, for example, someone who's constantly training like this will over time develop a posture that's constantly like this. So you become really good at what you do constantly, right? So if you want to improve your posture, posture has a lot of other elements. There's your vision and your vestibular system that are into this. But right now we're talking about proprioception. So from the proprioception standpoint, if you want to get better at posture, you got to practice maintaining a good posture, which means isometrically, which means, without moving, contracting your muscles, maintaining a nice core, holding your shoulder blades back and down, retracted while you're working.
Yeah, lift the way you want to look.
Yeah.
Basically.
So yeah, that's a really good simple way to put it. If it looks good when you do it, it's probably a good thing.
I'm simple.
Simplify it. So make sure you look good while you're lifting. If you're like this, doesn't
then
look
you're gonna look like that.
Yeah, so that's not too good. Okay, but just make sure you guys understand that there's different morning Eva. There's different components to this. It's not just about always keeping your back straight or like a robot, right? Because then eventually what happens is it limits movement and you start getting really tight and stiff in the body.
And then this is you looking around.
Right, exactly. Oh, we get lots of love from overseas. So anyways.
You can't turn anymore.
But in that case, because the emphasis was on the tricep and we don't want to like be moving around everywhere, we want to isolate and maintain a good posture. And isometrically contract, be aware, like your muscles needs to be working, like maintain your core, your back, your shoulder blades back and down, so you can focus on the triceps and get the most out of this exercise, okay? Because that's the purpose of this, in this case, in this video, okay? So number 2 tip.
Yes, contract the working muscle.
Ooh, that's a big one. So simple, but we've seen so many people failing to do so. Because, everyone has gone to the gym, did all kinds of exercise, squats and curls and shoulder press and all that stuff. And a lot of times what we see is people are not actually contracting as much as they can through the exercise. Okay, so you want to demonstrate?
I'll demonstrate.
There you go.
You see? All right.
Okay.
So bicep curl. I'm just moving.
Okay. It's very easy to just move through space with weights, guys, because there's a weight, you're actually contracting the muscles because he has to lift the weight. So if you're not contracting your muscles, you're not moving, right?
Yeah, this is 15 pounds, which can either be really hard or really easy depending on the exercise.
Mm-hmm.
But as you can see, I can do a lot of reps because I'm not really
squeezing.
I'm not squeezing the muscle. Like I'm working it, I can feel it working, but I can be here. I can stand here all day.
Maybe he's using like 20%, 30% of his, contraction capacity. So the idea here is to be contracting the muscles as you're working through space.
So what do you mean contract?
I like
Can
it.
you show us what you mean by contract?
Do you want to actively? It's almost as so what you want to do is you want to actively be contracting and squeezing the muscle as you're going through the exercise, because here's what happens. Yes, there's the there's the actual load that you're lifting, but the load is just one part of the equation. How much you're engaging your muscle fibers is going to add to the load per se. So everyone has gone through the experience of being able to like squeeze their muscles without lifting anything, right? There's nothing right now, I'm just squeezing my muscles.
Flexing. Yeah.
You're flexing,
Yeah.
okay? If you put your hands together, that's a good example I give a lot of people. Put your hands together and you press against each other, you're isometrically squeezing your muscles, especially your chest muscle right here, you're squeezing. Now, if you keep your hands apart, you can still squeeze together and isometrically contract the muscles. Now, while you're moving, you can also add contraction and squeezing the muscles harder, basically, as you're moving through space. Because if you're only just going through the motions, right, and this is what we see a lot, when I'm just lifting the weights, you're not getting the most out of each contraction. So the idea here is for you to add your own mindfulness, presence when you're training, and really squeezing as hard as you can through the exercise because you want to get the most out of each rep.
Yeah.
Make sense? Do you want to...
The more tension and force you can produce inside the muscle, kind of like we talked about with posture, when you're in a good alignment for the exercise, you can create more tension. This goes back to that. The more you can create tension internally and externally with the weights and with your contracting and squeezing, you're going to produce a lot more results.
So it's almost, it's the same idea of not wasting your time in the gym, guys, because for the same exercise or the same, you can do so many more reps and just feel tired as opposed to do one really good set and really squeezing the working muscles. In this case, it's important because we're trying to work on muscle development. If your goal is to get stronger, that's a totally different approach, right? It will help as well because that's a component of it. But this will also help you, especially to build more muscle tone and increase muscle mass, okay? Which is everyone's goal. And by the way, the ladies also, because one of the myths that we see a lot is like ladies are afraid to get bulky lifting weights. That's a myth, by the way. And the only way that you're going to be able to, as a woman, to build a toned look body is increase lean muscle mass and reduce body fat, which means you need to train properly in the gym, you need to lift heavier weights, we're gonna get to that, and you need to eat, the nutrition portion. There's a lot of other elements like reducing stress and all that stuff that we talk in our videos, but right now we're talking about the physical training in the gym.
Yes.
So, with that being said, don't waste no time, squeeze the working muscles, be mindful, which means that, when you're doing bicep curls or you're doing a squat or you're working on any exercise, you're not thinking about, your grocery list or what you have to do after, or because if your mind is wandering around, it's just going back to like creating more awareness and presence in the gym. You're not actually working at your full capacity.
Yes.
Okay, so if you focus, you concentrate on your exercise, you're squeezing the working muscles, I promise you that if you actually do this, you won't be able to be thinking about 1,000 other things while you're training, and then you'll get the most out of your training, which leads to potentially not having to train for an hour and a half, 2 hours in the gym, because you're going to have a really good efficient workout. You can be in and out 30 minutes, 40 minutes at the most, maybe, depending on what you're working on, and get a really good workout in very little time, which most people want nowadays because we're all so busy, right?
Yeah, this is why we can train for a lot less but see more results, because of the time. The way we're training, it's more efficient and we get more out of it. You don't have to be in the gym for an hour, 2 hours, that some people are every day.
Yikes. And doing tons of cardio too. But that's another conversation. Now, do you want to add a bonus? Because we love to talk about contracting this, the working muscles, because if, for example, we're doing bicep curls, obviously we want you to contract the biceps.
Yes.
But let's talk about the antagonist muscles.
Okay, so usually your muscle, it comes with two, so the biceps and the triceps that oppose it, chest and back, So when you're working a muscle, you want to be able to work its full range of motion, and this is different for everyone, but to lengthen the biceps in a bicep curl, if you go down, well, it's going to be hard. If you go down, I'm not squeezing my tricep right now. I'm not stretching my bicep as far as it can go, which means I'm not working it as best as I can.
You want to get a full stretch of the bicep.
Yeah. So by squeezing the opposing muscle, which is the tricep here in this case,
contracting the triceps,
that little extra, I'm squeezing my triceps now. You see that extra range of motion I get, which may not seem like a lot, but it's huge in terms of what it can do for your results. So squeezing the tricep, not squeezing the tricep. So when you're squeezing the bicep at the top, you're working it, you're going down. Don't skip out and bounce out. Squeeze the opposing muscle, squeeze the tricep, get more range, more lengthening of the bicep. It means you're working it more, you're gonna get better results by just squeezing the opposing muscle.
Full range of motion. Okay, that's a good tip to build like all the way around your muscles. So you're not walking around like this, just fully stretching. Okay, that's good. Perfect. So that was a little bonus here for contracting and squeezing the working muscles. So that was the tip number 2. Tip number 3 today, very simple, but again.
It's one of my favorites.
Oh, yes.
Okay. One of my favorites.
Lifting enough weight. So important. And in this case, we see this a whole lot with people just because we work with a lot of women, and a lot of women have been scared in the past for lifting weights, getting bulky again. A lot of beliefs and
I don't know if any woman has ever gotten bulky. Like I just think they don't know and they just assume.
Well, it happens, but then it has to be under very specific conditions, right? And of course, like these women are training way more often, and they're eating tons, like loads of food, and probably taking supplements. So, for the average woman that's just trying to develop a nice toned body, or just more fit, looking better, slimmer, more muscle mass, less body fat, right? Lifting 3-pound weights is not gonna make it. You need to stop doing this. Oh my god. Unless you're squeezing very hard your muscles.
Yeah, which we say the importance of squeezing the muscle while working it, but you can squeeze as hard as you want and do this. You're not gonna get results.
It's not gonna cut it, right? Yeah. It's not enough. Squeezing is important, but there's more to it.
I just don't want to get bulky, so.
Yeah. So here, the rule here is very simple. If you don't challenge it, you don't change it. If you're working out because you're trying to change your body, you need to challenge your body. And one of the best and easiest way to do it is to lift more weights and to get stronger. So in order to stop this now. In order to get better results in the gym, you need to start lifting more weight. Now, let's talk about safety here. We're not telling you to go ahead and go lift 300 pounds or attempt to do something like that. We're talking about...
Do it, you'll get results. And
Building
you'll feel better. I don't know. No, don't do that.
No. But it's about, progression, like smart progression in the gym. So the idea is, are you progressing in the gym? Are you constantly getting an extra rep in? Are you increasing your weight slowly? Sometimes it's a half a pound, literally, guys. Sometimes it's one extra rep. And it doesn't mean that you have to increase and improve every single workout, but throughout the time, throughout the weeks, throughout the months, are you improving the amount of weight you can lift? Are you adding more reps so there's different ways to progress when you're training, but right now we're talking about the amount of weight you're lifting.
Getting stronger.
Yeah, because it's a common mistake, and we see in the gym, especially with women again. I mean, guys do it too, but they tend to sometimes go overboard and hurt themselves, so it's just a little different. But if you're not lifting enough weight, you're basically not going to challenge your body enough. You're not going to get stronger, and therefore you cannot change the way your body looks because you're not challenging it enough. So.
Well, yeah, another that's really important also is the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn at rest. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to build muscle by lifting 3 pounds, 5 pound kettlebell squats, or or cardio.
At least not over time.
Yeah.
This is where you start.
Yeah, you have to build muscle, you have to get stronger, and then the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn at rest, which means the more food you can eat, more delicious food, the more time you don't have to, or the less time you have to spend in the gym because you have more muscles, so you burn more when you're not in the gym. Yeah. So that's why.
It's amazing. I mean, we see so many ladies come in the gym and starting out 5 pounds because that's just where they are and it's perfect. And then we really focus on form and making sure they're squeezing the muscles, they have a good posture, they understand their body awareness, and they know how to work their bodies. And once you start creating those neural pathways and those blueprints about how to move through space, then now you can get more comfortable in lifting a little bit more weight with the same exact exercise. And it's amazing within a 4-week period how people go from 5 pounds to 20 pounds sometimes in the same exact exercise. Now, of course, in the very beginning, people tend to progress a little bit faster depending on their state of health and their bodies and how they're moving through space. But it's very fascinating to see how people are progressing and how seeing a woman like being able to lift more weights and thinking she could not do it before, how it like just really gives them a new perspective and builds confidence and helps you feel like stronger and like that you can just basically go out there and crush the world, right? Because you just kind of surprise yourself, which is amazing.
Yeah, it's a mindset and confidence. You know, if you lack that, then and you're unsure of the weight you're going to be lifting, then that's going to set you back just before you even lift it. You have that mindset of, oh, I don't think I can do this.
Absolutely.
You know? Yeah.
And we're not taking anything away from, I know there's a lot of people out there might be watching this, especially women that are afraid to go in the gym and lift more weights because they don't want to hurt themselves. And that's totally legit, right? And you should not put yourself at risk if you don't know what you're doing. And this is why we always recommend to work with someone that knows what they're doing to make sure that you're actually not hurting yourself. So obviously always safety first. But over time, as you're getting better at this, more skilled, it's getting easier. You want to really constantly challenge your body so you're constantly improving. Otherwise, you're just going to remain the same. And that's kind of the principle we're trying to get through here. Another thing I wanted to mention in regard to this, that it is not always the case that you need to constantly lifting more weight depending on what your goal is, right? Because sometimes you might be working on more mobility. Sometimes you're doing more rehab stuff. Sometimes you just want to be moving better through space, and you don't always have to lift super heavy for every exercise because it depends on the purpose of that particular exercise or what you're trying to do at the moment. And there's going to be times where you might need to unload your workouts to allow for the body to recover, work on different skills, if I may say. And then, but the idea is that if your main focus is to change your body composition and improve lean muscle mass, yes, you're gonna have to focus and prioritize the lifting more weight, and so you can increase lean muscle mass, right? Get stronger. I think Eva said something. I'm leg pressing out. Nice. Look at this: 22 pounds dumbbell, squat 130 pounds, deadlift 175. I have slowly increased the weight. Body is changing. This is amazing, Eva.
Nice.
Eva's worked with us a while ago, and she's now in Portugal, still training and kicking some butts out there.
Seems like it's good.
High five. That's awesome, Eva. Keep working hard. This is awesome. Eva has learned some of those basic principles through us, and we just gave her that extra like push and confidence that she needed to know that she could actually do it. Now she's just out there crushing it. So that's just amazing. But that's all it takes, guys. Sometimes you just need to work with someone, and so they can guide you through this process, make sure you do it right, answer your questions, make you feel more confident about it so you're not afraid to go for it because you know what you're doing, you understand, you educate yourself about it, and that's kind of part of the process. Because obviously, if you're scared to lift more weights because you don't know how you're doing it, you're not going to go anywhere with that, right? So right now we're teaching you those basic principles, but it's always good to go out and learn how to do it properly, obviously.
Yeah, I know we joke about, the 5 or the little pound plates, but
yeah,
learn the form first, even if that means dropping the weight, even if it's not as challenging.
Absolutely.
Learn the form, get the basics done, and then once you have that, then you can progress to using more weight. That's, a lot more challenging. Yeah.
200%. It has to be done in a smart way, guys. And also, we see people of all kinds of levels or for all kinds of reasons they're coming to us. And of course, if you're dealing with already body issues, injuries, pain, and such things, we're not telling you that even though you want to change your body comp, to go ahead and go start lifting super heavy. You might have to take care of some of those issues first. And obviously, at that point, we're going to do more neural work with you. We're going to do some assessments, see how your body responds to things, getting out of pain, feeling better, getting stronger. And then eventually you can get to a point where you're lifting heavier weights and you change your body composition. But things needs to be done in order.
Yeah, it's just like the nutrition we talk about. You have to have that foundation first before you start building the second, third, fourth floors.
Yeah. So it's important to talk about this because we're not saying this is for everyone. We're talking about general people that are not dealing with pain, not really no issues really, which no issues is kind of a big thing. Everyone has a little something, but you're really not dealing with anything important that is causing you to have issues lifting weights, or you can be prone to injuries, and then you can apply those principles to your training. Now, if you're dealing with any other things, then this is a totally different story. And when we do another live in the gym and we talk about some training principles, I'll be bringing up a little bit more neural components.
Big buff Casey. There she is.
Hey! Good morning,
Don't
lady.
let her around your benches. She'll break them.
She's dangerous. I love it. So yeah, this is a different conversation, but right now we're talking about more like, you know, if your main goal right now is to change your body composition, get the most out of your workout, these 3 tips are super important. So let's just recap those 3 tips. Number one,
posture awareness. Yeah, make sure you know how you're positioned, and that's specific to the exercise. You know, some exercises you'll be more upright, more.
Which muscles you need to isolate, which joints you need to isolate, so you can get the most out of the working muscles.
Yeah.
And make sure it looks good. That's a little tip that he said. Number 2.
Contract the working muscle.
Don't just move through space mindlessly.
Yeah, don't just move. Don't think about, you know, what you're going to do earlier, what you did earlier, what you're doing later.
Or talk while you're training.
Yeah. You're not going to be able to produce force and, you know, as much as we want to change the muscle. So squeeze the muscle while you're moving the weights.
Yep, so you get the most out of each rep. And then number 3.
Wasn't there a 2B, a bonus?
Oh, there was a bonus in number 2. What's the bonus number 2?
I'm asking. You forget?
Oh, no, I didn't forget. So you want to get full range of motion for most of the exercises. So make sure you can contract the antagonist muscles, which is the opposite muscle. So in this case, we were talking about the bicep curls. If you're squeezing the biceps all the way fully, go to a full extension where it's comfortable and safe, and then squeeze the opposite muscle, which is the triceps in this case. So this way you fully lengthen the muscle, get full range of motion. And so you get more out of your workout. So and number 3 is
lift enough weight
to challenge your body based on where you are. Okay, so make sure that you're constantly progressing, increasing either the weight, the reps, the sets, depends what you're working on.
The appropriate weight for the amount of reps you're doing the exercise. But make sure before you do that you do what we talked about, which is get your form good, make sure you're positioned properly, you know what you're doing. And if you don't, then go see someone, whether
and
it's
you're not
us
dealing with some
or
issues.
someone else.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, we hope this was helpful for you guys this morning.
Follow these tips and you'll be on your way to
Craig.
A better birthday suit.
Better birthday suit. I love it. Yeah. So you can look good naked.
That's what I just said in not so many words.
I always like to recap what you say in my own words.
Recap. Birthday suit, look good naked. Feel better, perform better in the gym, in the bedroom.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
There you go.
All right, guys, it was a pleasure. We love you. Thanks for following. Comment below, ask some questions, reach out.
Stay delicious.
Stay delicious.
Get your own. Get your own sign off.
Oh my gosh.